I spent actual money on Discovery Plus to watch the worst ghost hunting shows available to humanity. My plan is I'm going to watch one episode from each show, and every Thursday I will upload my thoughts. I'm going to rate them, and I'm going to find out if these shows deserve the paranormal tagline. Are they real? Are they fake? Are they overindulgent? Do they have the right to exist? But because this is Discovery Plus, copyright is going to be a minefield. So if you have Discovery Plus, you can watch this episode while I'm discussing it. It should work as if you pause enough and things of that nature. But I'm going to do this for every show that is actually available on Discovery Plus every Thursday. This is going to be a massive project. So there may be some still images, but I'm not risking copyright. And first up is Help My House is Haunted, somebody that I've got a bit of history with, somebody that's hit me with copyright before. And I'll link videos in the description and those little boxes at the end of the video so you can go and watch my history with Help My House is Haunted and its cast members. But last night I went in neutral, taking notes. Clean slate, open mind, no grudges. And we're starting with Season 4, Episode 1, The Devil in Disguise. It already feels like it's trying to upsell me fear before the intro finishes. Before we even start, the show is opened by these fast, hard cuts, dramatic music, and a voiceover from somebody that sounds like he gets excited by reading the nutritional information on the side of a cornflakes box. And we are immediately hit with a confident claim from Captain Boring doing the narration that the number reporting belief in ghost spirits and the supernatural is on the increase. It's a confident claim, but do we see any graphs, any figures, any polls? Anything? There's no source, there's no study, it's just vibes. Almost like, trust me, I've got a friendly voice. And then we get the introductions to the cast. And first up is Ian Lawman, who is described as dark arts specialist and an ordained exorcist. I mean, yeah, he was an ordained exorcist. Until I proved he wasn't. Then we're introduced to Jane Harris. Now, Jane Harris is a psychologist and a paranormal researcher. That's an interesting conversation, because don't those things exist to actually stop each other? And next up is Barry Guy, who is introduced as the tech expert. So the visuals during all this, it's aggressively dramatic would be the best way to describe it. There's flashy graphics and then people shouting, "Ooh!" and pointing at nothing. And then we get the fog machine in the forest shot. 3 cast members walking through a forest, trying not to look at the camera, looking with a sense of fear, maybe a bit of an amazement, a bit of wonder, which feels less like a modern investigation and more like a 1997 documentary that thinks the X-Files was real and subtle. This is a modern show, and it looks like it was edited by somebody that thinks that fog equals credibility. And it was at this point where I'm like, this is gonna hurt. And Captain Boring voiceover says, "Returning homes back to the hands of the living." That raises an important question. Stop laughing. Are the ghosts paying rent? Because if they are, does the council tax go up? Because technically you've got another person living there, even though they're dead. And let's be fair, if the ghost is contributing to the council tax and the rent and he's putting the dishes away, I think the ghost deserves to be heard out. And I do find myself wondering, the ghosts get squatters' rights? Like an exorcist walks in and they're like, "Whoa, I've been here over 6 months. You can't touch me." Then we cut to the car scene, the traditional paranormal car scene, where Jane delivers some historical context about Peterborough. The main takeaway from this for me being that Jane says, Peterborough is older than I thought. That's not historical insight. I did chuckle. She then goes on to say how old Peterborough is, and yeah, Peterborough's pretty old. Well, if she can do it, I can. We then cut to and meet Kevin, the homeowner. And just to be clear, I am not mocking Kevin. I'm not here to take shots at Kevin. Because if you're hearing voices in your house, if you're hearing knocking that you can't explain, and like Kevin, you're a deeply religious man, it can be genuinely unsettling because they don't seem to know what is causing these events. And the issue here isn't Kevin, it's what the show does with Kevin. So Kevin reports knocks, bangs, cupboards opening, a recorded voice saying, "Help me," and he's also reported being dragged and scratched with 3 claw marks. And look, if you want to watch this episode and play back that voice clip could be anything. It could say what he thinks it says, being, help me. It could be saying sausage, and it could be saying Barry did it. Or it could be a table or a chair leg being pushed against the floor, which is what it sounds like to me. This is a classic case of pareidolia. You decide what you want to hear, and your brain does the rest. Kevin is already scared in his own home, and he's looking for answers through a recording. His own brain is scaring him. Basically, his mind isn't hearing the sound. His brain is hearing his suggestion. And at this point, any reasonable investigator, any legitimate investigator, any investigator with an ounce of care, they would probably say, listen, it's an old house, we've got wood, we've got tiles, we've got brickwork, temperature changes, expansion, contraction. No, it's not exciting, but it is reassuring to a guy that looks genuinely terrified. So surely, morally, ethically, these investigators will tell Kevin, you've got nothing to worry about. Right? Right? And at this point, it's also worth noting that there are 3 children living in this house. 3 young children. Which means, surely, this show is not going to lead into a fear narrative, right? Right? Now, watching Kevin is clearly distressed. It doesn't look performative to me. It doesn't look like this is somebody hamming it up for TV, like he's a paid actor. And as the scene ends, it's played out with a voiceover of Ian knows nothing about this house. And then we had cut to Ian on his way to the house. So Ian knows absolutely nothing about the case. And Ian is sat in the car already feeling shaky vibrations. It's coming through his body, and it seems to be his psychic nerve. He's very concerned, which is very impressive because he knows nothing about this house. How far do his psychic abilities reach? Is he Professor Charles Xavier, where he just puts his fingers to his temple and he's immediately connected to all people at the same time, but can actually hone in on this one home in Peterborough? How many houses are in Peterborough? And he knows, or he's got this feeling that's attacking him about this one home in Peterborough that he knows nothing about. And apparently this isn't anxiety or nerves or maybe some anticipation. No, this is his psychic nerve, a medical condition exclusively recognised by paranormal TV shows. Ian pulls up to the property, he gets out of the car, he looks up and in all seriousness drops the following line. Doesn't look haunted, does it? Which immediately raises a question. What do haunted houses look like, Ian? Are we expecting to have medieval castle turrets? Are we meant to see, like, narrow windows that archers would once have fired out of? Are we expected to see trees with no leaves, black cats, thunder and lightning, and a low red moon? Did he spot a Victorian child in the driveway? Or was the house listed on Rightmove under extra spooky? So Ian walks into the house that doesn't look haunted, but he's still jittery. He's still uneasy and he's feeling bad vibes. Which to me suggests the conclusion has already been reached. We're just waiting for the evidence to catch up and prove Ian right. The team split up and it's like one person per narrative thread. Barry talks to the wife, Jane speaks to a historian, and Ian talks to the walls. As one does in these situations. We stick with Ian, and Ian says he feels the jitters. And these jitters are psychically pulling him to the kitchen. The kitchen which is described earlier by the homeowner as having poltergeist activity and cupboard doors moving. This is incredible, because that's not how buildings work. That's not how people work. It's not how anything works. How has he got this just from walking in and looking at the kitchen? And without anything happening, he looks at the kitchen and says, I'm confident we're dealing with poltergeist activity. I shouldn't have to remind you, but I will, that at this point, this confidence has been achieved without any evidence, any investigation, 0 time, and he apparently knows nothing about this case or this home. Then we cut to Barry, and Barry is interviewing the wife, and the wife pretty much confirms beat for beat everything that the husband has said. But again, she feels quite genuine, and she confirms that she has heard this male voice and growling. And Barry at this point reacts like a deer in the headlights and responds with, I'm sorry, what? He delivers this fearful line with his eyes glued wide open, but he delivers the line with the gusto of a rich tea biscuit that's been left in a hot beverage for too long. Again, I'm not mocking her. This is what she believes she is experiencing. The way the information is being handled. Barry is just so straight-faced and his eyes wide open, but there's no emotion on his face. You can't get a read on the guy. I'm sorry, what? But the way he's handling it is he's doing nothing to reduce her fear. We cut back to Ian and things have escalated, because of course they have. Not only is this a poltergeist, but it's something else. And then Ian turns and looks at the stairs and says, hang on, that wasn't there before. And we see a toy car laying on the stairs. Ian swears that this toy car was not there when they entered, but we can't confirm it because we didn't see the stairs as far as I can remember. Now this can only be one of two things according to Ian. Number one, something needs help. Or number two, the spirits are letting him know that they are there and they know that he's there. It's an astonishing level of self-importance. I mean, the dead are apparently aware of Ian's schedule. Then we cut to Jane and she is speaking with an historian, and I'll give credit where credit is due here. Jane seems pleasant. She's engaged. There's a bit of emotion in her face, and her tone and cadence relay what she's saying, unlike the other two. And then the historian drops some bombshells, and he explains that there were railway lines running underneath the home, which means we could be dealing with the spirit of a lost railway man. And at this point, I'm like, is this dude an historian or is he Peter Venkman? The historian goes on to give us a name, William, of a man who was tragically crushed between two trains and died, potentially near this home. So the historian then suggests an explanation that a railway line's potentially running under the house, which is on old farmland, and this could be the spirit of a railway worker, which is already weird for a historian to say, but we'll roll with it. And Jane immediately says, yeah, that doesn't fit, because what we are dealing with is darker. Darker, Jane? How? And the reason Jane gives is scratches, because apparently when scratches enter the chat, we've left tragic history territory and we have gone full-blown into demonic DLC. And I do have to ask, how dark do you want this, Jane? Because being a crushed railway worker haunting the site of his own death, doesn't exactly scream light-hearted inconvenience, does it? Apparently, yeah, that's not enough. We need something worse. We need something evil. Because a dead railway worker doesn't fit the tone of the show. And this is where the historian loses credibility, because Jane asks the historian whether the scratches and the fear could be caused by the railway man. And the historian says, no. This raises another one of these really important questions. What exactly is this guy an historian of? Local areas? Railways? Or is he an historian of ghost types? Because this entire thing, from the historian, is sounding less like historical analysis and more like he's played one too many games of Phasmophobia in the dark. The man's just unlocked the Find the Poltergeist award. Why is the show asking a historian about paranormal mechanics? He's not a Ghost Adventures extra. He is a historian. He is there for date and facts. We cut back to Ian at the house. Ian opens a door. The door has a keep out sign and very boyish things on the outside of the door. The door opens. We see blue walls and a dinosaur toy. And Ian announces with full confidence, this appears to be a boy's bedroom. Incredible. The psychic abilities, yeah. Second to none. I tried to deliver that straight. I just can't do it. Watch it. It's hysterical. Ian walks into the room, sits on the bed, and then explains that dark energies like to hide in corners where they can't be seen. And then Ian draws attention to the loft. Something is coming out of the loft hatch. And that's really compelling. Except the loft hatch isn't in the corner of the room, Ian. It's smack bang in the centre. That's not a corner. That's a ceiling. And an attic isn't a corner. Ian then says, can you hear me? And there's a thud and a shuffle. And Ian immediately says, did you hear that? That's a voice. He's not excited or anything. It's just, did you hear that? That's a voice. Ian, that sound is the sound of two grown men in a small child's bedroom. It's a small room. And then we treat it to some classic scary B-roll of a door closing by itself. Now I say by itself, this is clearly edited and it's got horror strings so loud you couldn't hear reality if it kicked you in the knackers. And Ian continues to react into sounds we can't hear because the soundtrack sounds like the house is being attacked by a fucking orchestra. Cut back to Barry and Barry asks the wife, Are you scared? No, Barry, they invited you around because they are absolutely loving the experience. They love the unexplained knocking, the banging, the husband being dragged and scratched by 3 claw marks. They're McDonald's, I'm loving it. So Barry then tells this woman, just off what she's told him right now, that they are dealing with a male entity, a poltergeist, and something demonic. That's 3 entities, and 2 of them are dark, evil. And this is confirmed purely off what she has told him. This isn't just stupid, it's actually dangerous. Not for paranormal reasons, for psychological reasons. You do not tell a family that are already scared that their home contains multiple evil entities. You would need absolute evidence before you say anything of the sort, especially when there are children involved. And what's really, really baffling here is Barry's tone. It doesn't change at all. No concern, no softening, no reassurance, this constant look of a deer in the headlights, like he's actively trying to keep his eyes wide as open as possible. It's like he's forgotten cadence, tone, facial expression, because he's concentrating so hard just on keeping his eyes looking wide-eyed and shocked. And then we cut back to Ian, and Ian has announced he appears to be in what is the parents' bedroom. What gave it away, Ian? The double bed, the lack of dinosaur toys, the adult wallpaper. Oh, these psychic insights are coming thick and fast. So Ian walks into the room and says, monotone as you can get, and energy has taken my breath away, and I just saw a shadow form move off the bed and disperse. What's interesting here is how he's reacted to this. He hasn't jumped, doesn't flinch, he doesn't even seem scared. He just delivers it matter of fact, like he's memorised a script. And if he hasn't memorised a script, it sounds like he's reading the bus timetable to himself in his own head. But then we get an exciting moment. Ian spots a Bible and a crucifix on a chain next to the bed, and Ian's demeanour completely changes. He suddenly becomes confident, smiley, almost cocky. He kind of laughs and says that this tells him that this family clearly need the power of prayer to protect them. Apparently, this situation had the potential to go horribly wrong very, very soon, until he noticed the religious decor. Oh yeah, there was a bass drop when he looked at the Bible, which tickled me. Nothing says objective investigation like a musical sting triggered by a bedside Bible. And honestly, at this point when the ad break kicks in, I'm almost relieved. We come back from the ad break and we are back with Jane and the historian. And the historian is launched into this story about a demonic hunt. Huge stallion horses, huge black goats on old farmland. And he says he fears there is something far darker and demonic at play. And Jane confirms this by saying, my heart is racing. This is a historian. We cut back to Ian, and Ian proudly announces that he's in what seems to be a girl's bedroom because it's pink. Starting to think Ian might not be as psychic as he claims. Ian then finds a small Bible, a child's Bible, and then he claims he knows the child is clasping it and praying hard. And this apparently is enough to confirm to Ian that they have been sent in to rescue this family. Not insight, Ian. That's projection. And then Ian drops the following line. It's quite emotional when kids are involved, isn't it? Yes, Ian. Yes, it is. And what makes this really strange is that you delivered that line with less emotion than Barry asking the wife if she was scared. And Ian says he now has a real sense of dread about the case. Ian leaves the house and he's greeted by his teammates and the family. Oh, sorry, not the family, the parents. The kids are not there, thankfully, or this would be even worse than it already is. And then he meets the husband and wife and says, there's something dark and demonic in your house. These people were already scared, and now they've been told on camera by a supposed expert that their home contains something demonic. This isn't an investigation, it's fear reinforcement. So the parents and the team, they all enter the home and they go into the kitchen where Jane says they're going to do spirit triggers. And these spirit triggers are a spirit box session and an EVP session at the same time, but the EVP is doubling up to record the spirit box results. And here's my question. If part of the alleged evidence in this house is clear, distinct, direct voices heard in person, DVP's direct voice phenomena, then why do you need a broken radio and a voice recording box? You've already got cameras with microphones on them. If the dead are real, if spirits are real and are present in this house, if there is demonic presence in this house that has the ability to vocalize, then why are we downgrading them to static and pareidolia? And also, the haunted choir music going on in the background here is doing all the heavy lifting to make sure we, the audience, starting to feel a bit on edge and a bit scared. And at this point, the soundtrack is more possessed than the actual house. The spirit box does its thing. There's random radio noise and garbled mess, and shock horror, the words people think they hear align perfectly with what they already believe. Two apparent clear words come through, and you guess what the second one is. Demon. They even play it back on the voice recorder to confirm it to the family. That's not confirmation, that's reinforcement. And you can listen to that playback yourself. It does not say demon. And if you're sitting there wondering, how can the homeowners actually be buying this? Well, it's because they're scared. And when you're scared, your brain is desperate for meaning. And because you've got these three apparent experts with you confirming your fears and adding to them, it's an easy pill to swallow, I guess. Whilst this is going on, they look at Ian and they're like, he looks angry. Ian, how are you feeling? And Ian says that he is indeed angry. And at this point in the show, I felt the exact same way. But instead of anyone in the cast or crew acknowledging stress, fear, adrenaline, the team immediately turn to and frame this as something is affecting him, and they say it in front of him. Well done, you've scared him even more. The more they confirm, the more angry he looks. He's being influenced, and it ain't by no demons. This is group reinforcement. Ian then tells the husband that he is being challenged and you need to tell it to stand back. Stand back, you're not wanted here. Because apparently, demons respect personal space. Who knew? Barry and Jane then take the husband off to the pink room where he was allegedly dragged and scratched. So yeah, he's already angry, he's already fearful, so you take him to the room where he fears most, where the worst things have happened to him. Barry takes an SLS camera, and Barry claims that the SLS camera picks up anomalies invisible to the naked eye. No, Barry. It puts stick figures on the screen when it tracks or detects solid shapes. And it's designed to be stationary, so the second you move it and you're waving it about, which you're doing in the video, it's not paranormal. That's the software doing exactly what the software does when it's confused, because it's meant to be on top of a TV, looking across a 10-foot room. I'm not mocking you, Barry, I'm educating you. You don't know how that device works. It's a glorified Xbox Kinect. Get rid of it. They also use an ITC app on a tablet, otherwise known as pareidolia, with a subscription plan. We cut to Ian in the kitchen with the man's wife, and he claims with full confidence that this is an attempted possession. I'm not exaggerating, those are the words that are used. That is immoral, that is dangerous, that is fear-mongering, and it is unbelievably irresponsible. We cut back to Barry and his moving SLS camera, and he is shocked when a stick figure appears on the husband's head while he sat in a bunk bed with humanoid-shaped cuddly toys all about him. Oh, it's not evidence, this is pattern recognition doing what pattern recognition does. This is a device being used in a way that is not designed to work, giving you false positives. We cut back downstairs and the wife says she's feeling sick. I'm not surprised. And this is where the show takes a turn for the worst. Kevin breaks down in tears, saying that he started this because he invited whatever is in the home to attack him in order for him to protect his family. That's not bravery. That is a man who's been psychologically cornered. And he starts feeling strange. And then the app says in. And then he starts moving his jaw, and I can't say what's going on. They're feeding into it. And then the man says, I think it's here. Well, the app's just said in. And he wants to fight this thing. And then his heart starts pounding. And then we get a bass drop. And then this guy lunges at Barry. Barry, fair play to him, kind of moves a little bit. But then he braces, and there's pure rage in Barry's face. He looks angry until Jane steps in. And Barry smiles and sits him down. And then the husband, while being sat down, just completely breaks. It's heartbreaking. The guy is just broken, crying. Things have escalated, and things have escalated massively. We cut to Ian downstairs. And Ian is sat with the wife, and what does Ian do? Instead of going upstairs himself, he sends the wife. So Kevin, the husband, his breakdown continues and it spirals. He's crying, he's shouting, and he's clearly really, really overwhelmed. And then Ian walks into the room and says something that I genuinely can't believe was actually broadcast. He tells this man that the only way to fight this demonic attachment is to let it take over him. I have never heard anything so absurd, so dangerous in my life, and this was broadcast. This man is experiencing emotional distress. He's got fear, he's got adrenaline. The responsibility of his family, the weight of protecting his family sat on his shoulders. And Ian finally steps in. And Ian politely asks the demon to stand back to the sound of this haunting choir music that's picking up in drama and these tribal war drums, like there's a psychic war going on with nothing happening. Because nothing says calm intervention quite like a soundtrack designed to trigger panic in the audience. Ian then confirms that this was in fact a demonic attachment, and he's cleansed the demonic attachment from Kevin just by telling it to go away, to stand back. He then says that the demonic entity is now wandering the house. So no, the problem hasn't been solved, it's just been relocated to wherever it wants to go, and then we told the family leave the house for the night. And this is disgusting in itself because the family have not been reassured, the family have not been comforted, just been removed. Get out, a TV show to film. And this is where this episode becomes self-parody. We cut to the night investigation and Barry is talking us through the tech. And while Barry is talking us through the night investigation setup and the cameras, he's wearing a tactical vest. Not metaphorically, an actual tactical vest. He's arrived to battle a demon dressed like Timu Blade. It's embarrassing. The second-hand cringe is unreal. So we get the setup. There's 8 cameras for each of the rooms. All the rooms are covered. The cameras are pointing in the hot spots. We've obviously got cameramen present. And we're into maximum seriousness now. And then this line drops. The sun says something comes out of the loft hat. Wow, Ian is really powerful. Or he's an exceptional script reader. So we move down to the kitchen. Now this is where the EVP session starts. And I'm going to slow this down here because the cupboard door opens and closes. Ever so slightly, but they hear the bang. And I can't debunk this with 100% certainty. I've watched it frame by frame numerous times. Again, I can't show it because of a TV network. However, there is a cameraman on a chair positioned very close to this cupboard. We can't see the bottom corner of the cupboard and we can't see the cameraman's feet. But I swear, his knee closest to the cupboard moves. Again, I can't show you this clip directly because I've already been copyright struck by this show for using a fraction of the footage, so I can't take the risk. But if you've got the means, watch this episode for yourself. See if you can see that knee moving. You don't have to take my word for it, you can go and watch this for yourself. Tell me in the comment section what you see. Do you see his knee moving? And then we're told that the table moves and everyone verbally confirms that it happened, but we don't see it. And Barry, he does look genuinely scared after he's scooted from the table and gone, oh yeah, it moved. And it's unfortunate we get no evidence other than everybody is already primed. And then the cupboard door opens again. And again, the cameraman's knee appears to move. And then the cupboard door opens for a third time. But this time the cameraman actually jumps back suddenly, like in fear. To the untrained eye, this looks like he's jumped in fear. It does. But then you watch it over and over and over again, and when you've been doing this as long as I've been doing this, to me it looks like an excuse to get out of shot, to pan the camera down, to show that there's nothing that could be open in the cupboard. So the EVP is played back, and we are told the EVP represents a human spirit asking for help to get rid of the demonic entity. And I want to be quite clear here, this conclusion has been drawn from a loud bassy sound. I can't make out a single syllable of it. So how exactly are these people determining intent from this? The sound could be from anything. And how can they tell which of the 3 spirits this is? The team splits off into different rooms, and shockingly, while there's only one person on camera, all of the devices start triggering. They go mad. Seriously. REM pod's kicking off. You'd swear there was a 2-way radio in the house, but we haven't seen one yet. And then clearly, through one of these applications and devices, it's fast and loose which ones are saying what. We get the word devil and then Diablo. And that's quite fascinating because we've been hearing the word demon out loud for most of the episode from both the cast and the devices. And eventually the team, with all this equipment kicking off, reconvene in the parents' bedroom. And oddly, when the team are all together, all of the equipment stops triggering. It's almost as if the demon said, all right, staff meeting. Oh, wait. Then the team decide to start calling out for William, the crushed train driver. Almost immediately through one of the devices, they claim to hear, help me. And this is immediately followed by a power cut. There's nothing in the video to suggest a power cut other than what we are told. And then there's a fly. And Barry, full of confidence, confirms to us that power cuts and flies are the sign of demonic activity, and clearly the knocking is about to start, because it's obvious, isn't it? We cut to the kitchen. As the biggest guy of the crew, this large bald cameraman, walks into the kitchen, items fall off the windowsill. Sorry, items flew off the windowsill and landed into the sink. Now, could this be vibration? No. Demon confirmed. We get William confirmed again through SLS, more apps, and they're all confirming William is present. And at this point, William seems to have more digital confirmation than booking a doctor's appointment online through the NHS app. And then the show becomes even more absurd. Like, everything else wasn't bad enough. This is where we go completely off the rails. Through one of the apps, we get a woman's voice, but it's backwards. That is backwards speaking, which is immediately interpreted as satanic worship and mockery of the Bible. And then the word Satan comes through an app. An ITC app, and it's clear. And this is in turn followed by some growling from one of these apps, and then a distorted rumbling voice. And this is the point in the show where they give it away. This is the point in the show, the moment that gives everything away. This demonic booming voice comes out of an app after the word Satan, and Ian doesn't look scared. In fact, he laughs a little and he smiles. This is a man that's been introduced as an exorcist. He's allegedly confronted by Satan himself, and he's smiling and laughing. Ask yourself why. And at this point, there's, to me, only two possibilities. Either these apps and devices have been preloaded with thematic words, or they pre-recorded in entirety to fit this narrative, or this team has just proved the existence of heaven, hell, Satan, demons, God, using phone apps and ghost hunting toys. And I don't think they're up for the Nobel Prize just yet. And then I rewound this segment to watch it a few times, and I noticed something else. The only person that doesn't appear to be smiling or trying to cover their mouth because the entire thing is hilarious is Barry. Barry is the only one with a serious, concerned, stern look on his face. Jane is smiling and then covers her face. That's interesting, right? So Barry is drawn upstairs because one of the apps said ceiling, and he interprets ceiling as must be the attic trap in the little boy's room. And of course he takes the SLS for confirmation. He gets halfway up the stairs, he's waving it about, and of course a stick figure appears out of the boy's room, confirming where he was going. Barry confirms the app says ceiling by going towards the attic, which is about as impressive as saying the sky is up. So Barry climbs the ladder, sticks his head in the attic, and he starts going, oh, there's 2 knocks on this ladder. Did you touch the ladder? Nobody touched the ladder. Clearly it's on camera. So Barry's head and arms are in the attic, and he's peeking down and stuff. Doesn't take a camera with him, so we can't see the attic. And then Barry claims that a roof tile is thrown at him, and it could have been serious. This was dangerous. Except we see the trajectory of this piece of roof tile. It comes from almost right next to his arm. We can't see his hand, but I don't think it's his hand. And it kind of just loops in this trajectory like somebody's just done that. It misses him by inches. It arcs gently past him. It lands without even anything. There's no force. It's just a little throw up and then gravity takes over. So that's either a demon with really bad aim, or somebody else is in that attic space and they didn't want to actually hit Barry. Just my thoughts. Or soft demon confirmed. So the team reconvene and they discuss that they're going to remove this female demon. Because the female voice was backwards, it's confirmed there's a female demon. Ian says, hey, the only way to get rid of a demon, to battle a demon, is to get to know her name. And Ian says, what is your name? And the app immediately responds with, her name is Nasu. And at this point, Barry pulls out a 2-way radio that we've not seen for the rest of the show. For for somebody off camera to confirm that Nasu is a demon name. Two-way radios are notorious for setting off ghost hunting equipment, especially REM pods. And for me, the second you introduce a two-way radio that at this point has not been on display anywhere, you can write off all of the device activations. And this thing with the radio alone should invalidate everything that follows. Now, I've done a demonology course. I've got a demonology certificate. It was for a joke, but I've got a demonology course. I've passed the demonology course. I've got the certificate. I've got demonology books. I've been kind of studying in my own time about demonology for me to understand the people's beliefs. And I have a question. How did this deep, booming, growling, evil voice break so easy? How did it give up the demon's name so quickly? It was almost instant. The team didn't have to negotiate. There was no battle. There wasn't even a follow-up question. It was just, hey, that's the name. There we go. Almost like the demon read the script. At this point, this is not an investigation anymore. At this point, this isn't even fear. This is a parody. It's unintentional, but it's a parody. And it's unmistakable. Barry's radio activates. A woman's voice comes through from the other side, and it confirms that Nasu is in fact an old demon, and it takes the form of a fly. And she is known to take men's souls. So her name has now been confirmed. Nasu takes the form of a fly. She was attempting to take Kevin's soul. I want you to remember that we arrived at this conclusion because of radio interference and app and vibes. Oh yeah, sorry, there was a part where Barry was complaining about a fly being on a camera lens. So it's confirmed that Nasu is present and has taken the form of a fly. And she was indeed attempting to take Kevin's soul. And now, because they've got the demon's name, they've seen the fly, Ian grabs his holy water, walks around chanting and praying, splashing a bit of holy water around, and just like that, poof, gone. The demon's gone. And then the spirit of William, the tragic soul from the railway line, is free. He's sent into the light. There's no struggle, there's no resistance, there's no danger. The soul-stealing demon was defeated quicker than the fucking ad break. Jane walks around the house burning what I assumed was sage, and she's like, no, this is dragon's blood. What? Where'd you find that? Have you been to Wales? And it turns out that this is some sort of plant extract. And with that, the night investigation ends. And then the family are reintroduced and the evidence is gone through. And if you're watching this, what's the order in which they tell events? And tell me if this matches what you've just watched. Seems a bit higgledy-piggledy, a bit all over the place. The family has shown they're being assured, but this is only after hours and hours and hours of escalating their fear, telling them there's demonic presences, and then sending them off for the night on their own. In my opinion, the emotional damage comes first, and then the resolution comes later for TV, for excitement, for views. Whilst the show presenting their evidence, they play the backwards voice again, and then they reverse it, so we hear it in real time. And we hear clearly the Queen of Death. It's very clear. You can understand every syllable in a very English accent. Interesting, right? Because Nasu is a Persian demon. So why does Nasu, the Persian demon, the upper demon, why does she sound posh British? This isn't an episode of Supernatural. So, in one night, the team has identified successfully 3 entities. Removed 3 entities, but I only remember them removing 2 specifically. 2 of them being demonic or evil, of course, and 1 soul-stealing fly demon. That's genuinely faster than I can get a doctor's appointment. So the evidence is presented, the team look like heroes, the family take it all in, and our episode ends with the heroes just walking off into the sunset with... That was quite emotional, wasn't it? There's a massive problem here. If everything can be discovered, identified, and removed this quickly, then the fear was never necessary. This entire thing was a waste of time. They may as well have turned up, pulled the devices out, not spoke to the family. So what is your name? Nasu, holy water, bye. They've just sped run an exorcism and a house cleansing. So my final verdict. Let's be clear about this. Help My House is Haunted visually looks great. Sound-wise, it's fantastic. There's great score moments if you're making a horror film, and the audio, the microphones, they're all very, very clear. This isn't a cheaply made show. The cameras and the camera work is quite slick. The music is cinematic and the editing is polished. but you can't polish a turd. What we've just watched is not an investigation. What we've just watched is a performance. And what's worse is this performance has been carried out at the home of a genuinely concerned family. Now, towards the end of the family's involvement in when Barry was lunged at and then the bits at the end, I started to get this niggling feeling that maybe the family were acting. But the show maintains it's all real. And if this is all real, in one evening, this show has successfully managed to introduce multiple entities, escalate them to demonic, imply possession, and induce a visible emotional breakdown. And then resolved everything faster than, well, the ad break that interrupted it. This show is not thorough, it's not responsible, it's narrative speedrunning. So when devices are triggering, but radios have been introduced, when words appear perfectly through apps and ITC and all the rest of it, and it all matches things that have already been said aloud, when the app delivers names, intent, and theology on demand, and then you get the most dangerous, supposedly dangerous moment, the escalation, and it's all topped off with this moment that is supposedly the most dangerous. We hear that booming satanic voice, and the experts, the self-proclaimed experts, they start smiling. What bothers me most about this isn't that I don't believe a single stitch of it, it's that people's beliefs are being manipulated. They use fear and they escalate it first for, the show. Evidence is interpreted later, and reassurance only arrives after all of this is complete. You have to get all of the dark stuff in there, amp up the fear of the family, ramp up the fear of your audience, and then right at the very end, the last second, be like, all good, all in a night's work. And the most important part is there are children in this case. While they're not on camera, while they are not there are children in this family that will probably watch this episode, and they will, instead of being grounded in reality or getting any form of reassurance or de-escalation, we get demons, attachments, possession, all delivered with nothing but confidence and just no accountability. In my opinion, this isn't entertainment, this is absolutely reckless. So rating as television, as in, is it polished, is it dramatic, is it well funded, does it look and sound nice? Yes, I'll give this 4 out of 5 stars. As an investigation, 0. I'll give this show nothing. Something being presented to frightened people who need help? That's where this fails completely. 0. This series isn't about finding what's happening. It's about deciding what's happening. And then letting the tools and the editing and the authority figures reverse engineer the fear just to match up, to make a scary episode. This show is bad. Really bad. Outside of the visual appeal and outside of the music and the editing, this show is really bad. No amount of fog, choir music, tribal drum beats, or tactical vests are able to hide how bad this show is from me. So do please let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I know it's weird not having anything on screen, but it's just the way I've got to do it. Next Thursday, there will be another episode from another show, random episode from a random season. Hope you enjoyed this. Much love to you all. Beardo.